Good morning, friends. Yesterday, we were dealing with the energy flow in an ecosystem. So, let us continue the same topic. Yesterday, we have emphasized a lot on the source of energy on this planet Earth. So, I think it is very much clear for everybody that what energy literally means and what is the basis for this energy on planet Earth. And so we have also discussed a lot about the solar energy and how it is getting converted into the other forms and the types of energies existing. And moreover, we have just, entered into the laws of thermodynamics also. The law 1 and the law 2 also I have explained in detail yesterday. So, again, we need not go into detail about the potential energy or else the kinetic energy, okay? But you should keep in mind so that we can go further, okay? Right now, yesterday, I think we have stopped at a particular point where discussing about photosynthesis yesterday, I think, if I'm not mistaken, okay? On an average, I think it's only the active radiation is only 2 to 10% of it is used by plants for process of photosynthesis. We discussed yesterday. That means only it's very surprising thing. Only 2 to 10% of it is used by plants for the purpose of for the process of photosynthesis. The remaining entire thing is being lost into atmosphere in various forms. And I think it is not appropriate to talk right now. Okay. Still, we will move to the point right now. Here, what happens? Uh, the producers, in any kind of ecosystem, they form the basis of energy. I repeat once again, the producers, they form this source for other living organisms which are dependent upon these living organisms for their life source. For their energy sources, technically speaking. Okay, right now. Right. Let's move on to this part. How this energy, solar energy, is being trapped by the green plants, and how the chloroplast, the role of chloroplast, how it could be, and how these chloroplasts help the green plants in converting or in, already trapping is, it's a process. That trapping that radiant energy, it's a process, and how that solar energy is being converted into this. Chemical energy. It's a process called as photosynthesis. There is nothing to speak about photosynthesis because already since the couple of days past we are dealing with this process of photosynthesis. So right now I don't think it's appropriate. Right. Okay. I think it is necessary to give a one-line definition for photosynthesis so that the things will be clear for you. Okay. The green plants generally, again, when we are dealing with the green plants, in sense, if anybody asks you a question like, um, what amount of green plants are there living on the earth, people may get confused because we generally consider only the plants. In technical terms, we should use some words like terrestrial, aquatic, and so on and so forth. Okay, the plants which we are seeing or which we can see on this earth, they are called as terrestrial plants. And again, depending upon the habitat, they are classified into various groups or various categories. If you take the entire globe as an entity or a single unit, large amount of flora is living in the oceans. Oceans are the aquatic habitats. They form the main source and a bulk source for the producers. For the producers. A simple definition, I think. Even a student from a +1, +2 also can say. What are autotrophs and what are heterotrophs? A simple definition. What makes a difference between autotrophs and heterotrophs? Can anybody make me clear about the technical difference between autotrophs and heterotrophs? See, my dear friends, Autotrophs in sense the beings, I mean the living beings which can prepare their own food materials by utilizing the natural resources which are technically called as abiotic components. I think the other day we have spoken, I mean we have discussed about the abiotic and biotic components. Okay, right. Green plants, with the help of abiotic components, they trap this sunlight and prepare their food materials. So green plants, in sense, many people, the people, I mean, the layman or those who are not aware of these, I mean, sciences, like maybe a physical science or life science, it doesn't matter. But people generally, even the people, the so-called educated or literates also, that is not clear for them. Many people cannot imagine that bulk source bulk source of flora is available in oceans. Many people does not know. They don't consider the algae which is present in oceans, seas, as well as the in any aquatic habitat. They don't consider as green plants, but surprisingly, they form the bulk part of flora on this planet Earth. Am I clear? If you take the total planet Earth as a single entity, the bulk amount of flora is available in aquatic habitats only. So algae forms algae it forms the bulk source of flora on planet Earth. Apparently, what I mean to say is the plants which we can see on Earth's surface is only little part. That major part is in the water. Is in the water. Okay, water habitats forms the bulk source for the production of tell me for the production of carbohydrates. So maximum amount of, or to maximum extent, the process of photosynthesis takes place in water habitats. So basically we are dealing with ecology and we are talking about various kinds of ecosystems. So we should be very much clear when discussing about herbivores, the carnivores, and etc. The producers in any ecosystem, they are the autotrophs. And that is undoubtedly the green plants. I mean, the living beings which contains the chloroplast. They form the basis for energy on planet Earth, and they are nothing but the autotrophs or green plants. For clarity's sake, I once again repeat that green plants, in sense which we can see through naked eye, they are not only being considered as green plants, but the algae which is present in the big oceans, the seas, the rivers, the lakes, etc. I mean, any kind of aquatic habitats, they should be considered to maximum extent, because the bulk amount of production of uh, carbohydrates is from the algae. A little amount can be, I mean, to some extent, to some reasonable extent, maybe from the terrestrial living plants, right? Okay, let us not deviate from this point. And once again, I mean, it is necessary for us to go through a small paragraph. I think you can put it on paper. The energy flow takes place via food chain and food web. The energy flow takes place via food chain and food web. One thing we are clear, I think, food chain, in sense we can imagine. Food chain means we can imagine that food chain. Already since yesterday we were discussing about the trophic levels XYZ, and I think yesterday also I made a point regarding this ecological pyramids yesterday. wherein we can put all these producers, consumers, and the higher level of consumers, all these things. We can you can illustrate them, or you can show them, or you can portray them in the form of a pyramid. So, a trophic level means in an illustration or in a manifestation, uh, the area or the place where a certain group can accommodate can be called as a trophic level in general terms. In general terms, I repeat, in general terms. The energy flow takes place via food chain and food web. Now we have to emphasize on this word food chain. Food chain in sense we can generally imagine, anybody can imagine. Chain means it's a continuous process. It's a continuous process or a thing which runs in a continuity is called a chain. It's called a chain. And food chain, it's a simple implication that the food the food is being circulated not in terms of food, but it is in the form of energy. It is being circulated from one level to another level. I mean, in a chain mechanism, in a continuous mechanism. Food chain. Say, for example, let us discuss about this food chain, and it's a time for us to imagine this ecological pyramid. Ecological pyramid. Again, if you enter into the ecological pyramids, it's a very big thing. I mean, how to construct the pyramids and what are all the parameters you should take into consideration while constructing the pyramids. Generally, as far as our life sciences are concerned, if you come across, to deal with this ecosystem, and in that instance, you will construct ecological pyramids with certain parameters, like number wise. If you would like to emphasize this, if you would like to emphasize on the number, how many numbers of producers are there in a particular ecosystem, and what number of the consumers are there, and again primary consumers in what number, secondary consumers in what number, and tertiary consumers in what number, and taking the numbers of these living beings in various trophic levels, you construct a pyramid, and that kind of pyramid can better be called as a pyramid of number. That ecological pyramid which you construct, taking into consideration the numbers. The numbers means the individual species which are living in a particular trophic level. At that point of time, you construct a ecological pyramid and naming it as a pyramid of number. And likewise, the pyramid of energy is there, the pyramid of biomass is there, and these are. You can understand that not only the numbers. If you take into consideration the energy, if you take into consideration the biomass, you can construct the pyramids like ecological pyramids based upon the numbers, energy, biomass, etc. Okay. So food chain means we can imagine now. We can imagine now food chain. Just imagine a ecological pyramid with numbers. You construct a ecological. If you have constructed a ecological pyramid basing on numbers. So here the foundation or the base generally to maximum extent, if you take any kind of ecosystem, the base is always occupied by the producers. The autotrophs or green plants, exposure, anything. Basically, generally there will be only green plants only, the autotrophs only. They form the basis for the ecological pyramid. Okay. Here we have constructed a ecological pyramid. Taking into consideration the numbers, we have constructed a pyramid of number. Now we are studying a ecological pyramid with numbers, and this can be attributed to any kind of ecosystem. An ecological pyramid, generally it's a form. What to say? Um, that gives that gives a clear idea for you. That gives a clear idea for you. a level, a trophic level, or something like that. You can imagine that base, okay, that foundation in that ecosystem. Um, these green plants of many kinds of species you can observe. If you take into consideration the first level or the first trophic level, if you take this first trophic level, which will generally should occupy, I again repeat, that first trophic level should occupy by the autotrophs only, because in any kind of ecosystem, the base is always occupied by the autotrophs only. Wherein, because this, first of all, the producers, they should trap this sunlight and they should convert that kind of energy into chemical energy. That is the main source. So ecological pyramid is nothing but illustration or a method of representation only. That could be a method of representation only. Ecological pyramids. Now we have constructed an ecological pyramid taking into consideration the numbers. So the first level where this flora occupies, there you find, heterogeneity will be there. Heterogeneity, n number of species will be there, and you should consider all these species and each species in what numbers are there, and we should count. And that is probably, basically we are dealing with ecological pyramid with numbers. So there is every necessity for us to count the number of respective species. I repeat once again, the number of the number of species with respect to a particular community. So okay, so we have constructed a ecological pyramid basing upon the numbers, and the foundation itself is being occupied by the producers. It is very much known, and now we have we have an idea about the number of species belonging to a particular community and all right, okay. And these green plants, which occupy the first trophic level, they trap sunlight and they have converted that solar energy to chemical energy. And this forms the basis for the second trophic level, the living organisms which occupies the second trophic level, and this forms the basis, the green plants which prepared the food materials, that is in the form of carbohydrates or exposure like that, and this forms the basis for the living organisms which occupies the second level, which occupies the second trophic level. In general terms, not in general terms, general observation, in our general observation, we need not be get educated or intellectual or something like that. In a general observation, in any kind of ecosystem, we can imagine or we can take an example. Basically, herbivores are the ones which are directly dependent upon the producers for their food. Herbivores are the second level, or the living organisms which occupy the second trophic level. They are directly dependent upon these producers for their food source, and already I think yesterday I think we have discussed, and energy the energy yesterday, what we have said, we have discussed. The plants being the producers, no, they absorb the sunlight with the help of chloroplast, and part of it is transformed into chemical energy in the process of photosynthesis. It is clear, I think that is clear for us, okay. And now we are already, very much acquainted with the definition of photosynthesis and what the primary consumers, secondary expired. Yesterday we have discussed. And now what I want to pinpoint is that when this energy, when the energy, so the so-called energy which is being prepared by the, through the process of photosynthesis, is stored in various organic products in plants. Am I clear? The energy which is being prepared during the process of photosynthesis is stored in various organic products in the plants, and that will pass on to the primary consumers in the food chain. And that too, when these herbivores, they consume the plants, as food, and that herbivores which dependent upon these green plants for food, and that food which is being consumed by the herbivores, and that will be converted, that will be converted into that chemical energy which is there in plants, that will be converted into kinetic energy. Yesterday or I think day before yesterday, we got a discussion regarding potential energy and kinetic energy, and at that point of time I made clear that what is potential energy and what is kinetic energy. So I think it's time for you to recollect. Okay, the energy which is being prepared, I mean which is formed during the process of photosynthesis, is stored in green plants in various organic products. And when if these primary consumers, if they have again graze these herbivores, they should graze the green plants for the food purpose. They consume these green plants as food. And the chemical energy which is already present in these organic products in plants, no, that is accumulated in green plants, and that will be converted into kinetic energy. That will be converted into kinetic energy. And how it takes place? It takes place through degradation only. The degradation of energy will occur through its conversion into heat. Part of the energy is being released as heat into atmosphere. That will definitely happen. As yesterday, while we are discussing about the trapping the solar energy and converting into chemical energy and like on, the 100% this radiation from sun is not reaching or is not touching, is not striking the earth's surface. Only a little part, and in that also a very negligible amount is reaching the green plants, and they are able to trap that and convert into energy. Very negligible amount. It's only nearly, I mean, 2%, I think, not more than that. Okay, so very least amount is being striking the earth surface, and again very negligible amount is being exploited or trapped by the green plants, and that is converted into chemical energy, and that chemical energy is stored in various organic products in green plants. And if again time comes when these producers, they are supposed to graze on these green plants, they consume these green plants as food. And in that instance, the organic the chemical energy which is stored in these various organic products of plants, and that chemical energy is being converted into kinetic energy, and through degradation process, the energy will occur through its conversion to heat, and that heat is that will escape into atmosphere, and we need not talk about. Okay, I think it is we have discussed a lot, I think, about this. So now the primary consumers has consumed the food. I mean, they have eaten these producers. And again, coming to the secondary consumers. And when these herbivores are consumed by the carnivores of first order, the secondary consumers are nothing but the carnivores. Basically, the first order consumers are the herbivores. The first order consumers are the herbivores, and generally the second order could be carnivores. Carnivores in sense, I think I should make clear for you. Carnivores in sense, the organisms are the living beings which depend, which can consume both these vegetarian parts as well as the animal source also. Animal source also they can consume, and such type of living beings, they are classified as carnivores. Okay, so the second trophic level, which is occupied by the consumers, it is again reclassified or further classified as the primary consumers, the secondary consumers, and tertiary consumers. So I think we are very much clear about the primary consumers. The primary consumers, they directly depend upon the herbivores or the first order living beings which occupy the first trophic level. They are nothing but the green plants, and that chemical energy which is stored in the green plants is being consumed by the second level consumers, which are first order ones. Primary consumers, which are nothing but the herbivores. They consume these green plants, and that chemical energy is stored in various organic products in green plants, that could be converted into kinetic energy, and part of this energy is being emitted or lost into the atmosphere. And again, the secondary consumers, which occupy the higher level, in the second trophic level only. And the secondary, as when we are discussing about the secondary consumers, one thing it should be clear for us is what kind of living beings occupy this trophic level? I mean, which are present in what kind of living beings can be called as the secondary consumers? So the secondary consumers are nothing but the carnivores. They're nothing but the carnivores. They depend upon the food materials for the food materials on primary consumers. And finally, when we are dealing with the tertiary consumers they consume the carnivores. They consume the carnivores, which are the secondary consumers. Don't get confused. Huh? And again, energy will be degraded here also. Here also, while tertiary consumers, which depend upon the secondary consumers for their food sources, they consume the secondary consumers, and again here energy will be degraded. Thus, the energy flow is unidirectional in nature. You underline or please make a note. I just gave a statement. The energy flow is unidirectional in nature. The energy flow is unidirectional in nature. And what does it mean? The energy flow is unidirectional in nature means, so in a food chain, generally you imagine in a food chain, the energy, it follows the 10% law. I think this is also a new point for you. Please make a note. In a food chain, the energy flow follows the 10% law. The energy flow follows 10% law. Earlier, I made a statement. The energy flow is unidirectional in nature. And another point is the energy flow follows the 10% law. The 10% law. Unidirectional in sense means what happens, the green plants which are eaten by the herbivores, that is primary consumers, and they are in turn eaten by the secondary consumers, they are carnivores. These carnivores are in turn eaten by the tertiary consumers. And likewise, when we are moving from one trophic level to another trophic level in a hierarchy from lower to higher level, in a hierarchy from a lower level to higher level, the food is being consumed, or else the living beings or organisms, they are consumed, they are eaten. The first level are eaten by the second level are being consumed by the third level, XYZ. The respective trophic level organisms depend upon the subsequent level people for their food purposes. So when one trophic level organisms depend upon another trophic level organisms for food, that means the consumption of food in sense means gaining the energy only. Gaining the energy, that is the ultimate law. That is the ultimate logic behind this. The ultimate logic behind energy flow and all is nothing but the eaten and being eaten. Am I clear? Eaten and being eaten is the ultimate logic behind the energy flow or food chain or food web XYZ. Okay? Eating and again being eaten. In that sense, energy is being flown, energy is being moving from one trophic level to another trophic level. So energy flow is unidirectional. Once herbivores, if they are eaten by the primary consumers, and again they should be eaten by the eaten by the secondary consumers, and ultimately they should be eaten by the tertiary consumers, and by the death and decay of the ultimate consumers, and that saprophytes, they take part in degrading the ultimate consumers, which might be the tertiary consumers in any kind of ecosystem. These saprophytes are nothing but the, generally speaking, they are the saprophytic bacteria. These saprophytic bacteria, they take up the degradation process. And that protein of that particular organisms is being broken down into amino acids, and then being converted into nitrates, ultimately into nitrogen, coming back to the soil. That is unidirectional. Okay, of course, researches are taking place on a global scale, but as far as our syllabus is concerned, let us stick on to the process called as the energy flow. Which is unidirectional. We are discussing right now, and the other statement, which is the energy the energy flow follows 10% law. I think that is a big thing, and I think let us continue in our next class. For today, let us confine our discussion to the energy flow is unidirectional. Okay, energy flow is unidirectional. I think it is very much clear for you. Whereas from the first level to the ultimate level in a ecological pyramid, how the food is being prepared from the abiotic components by the producers, and how they become food for the higher level dependents or consumers, and in turn how the highest the living organisms which occupy the highest trophic level are being degraded by the saprophytic bacteria, and how that energy is being sent back to the nature. I think that's enough for today. Hope we let us continue our topic tomorrow by the statement, the energy flow follows the 10% rule. And I think that could be our topic for tomorrow. Anyway, thank you all, my dear friends. Thank you. Let's meet tomorrow. Thank you.